Hey guys, this is B Word here at the Bleach Brothers podcast. Just a friendly reminder that we are sponsored by Jerky Pro, and if you are a fan of jerky, make sure to go to www.jerky.pro. Use code BleachBros5 at checkout to get yourself a little bit of a discount. Both Jake and I are huge fans of jerky, and Jake working in the beef industry and me being just a fellow fat kid, we absolutely swear by Jerky Pro. You will not miss out by ordering Jerky Pro. Do not let some of the sticker shock you. There are free shipping options, multiple flavors, etc., so forth. If you do order Jerky Pro, make sure to use code BleachBros5 at checkout.
Hey guys, this is Matt from the Bromigos podcast. Welcome to Bleach Bros Top 50 Movies of All Time. In this episode, the guys rank their top films from 30 to 21. Now let's introduce your hosts, B-Word and Jake the Hater.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers Top 50 Movies of All Time. Jake, we have had 2 episodes so far, and I have to tell you, buddy, we've got some pretty good feedback on not only numbers 50 through 41, but also 40 through 31. What sort of feedback have you received so far?
That my list is amazing, and your list is subpar. Like, if you were a golfer, I'd be proud of you. That's how I feel. But I feel like your list is just, and I'm waiting for a moment, like that moment where I'm like, oh fuck yeah, he picked that. That is the perfect spot for it. But I also feel like it's, we've been in the lower category, the lower numbers. So now that we're getting closer and closer to top 10, you're gonna wow me. So I'm waiting for the wow factor. But it's been good. It's been good. No, the feedback's been great. My favorite one was from Jordan the Gnome, saying that The Pest belongs on everybody's list. So thank you, Gnome, for that, because you couldn't be more right. It is a top 50 movie of all time. It's
not a top 50 movie of all time. However, I will tell you that we have had some really good feedback. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for paying attention. Hope you're following along and also sharing with your friends. And obviously, Jake, we can tell that you just came off of a little vacation with your wife, because she said that my list is subpar and yours is great, which basically just means, yes, honey, we don't have the kids. Please continue to hump me. So that being the case,
yes.
I'll go ahead and give you an out on that one. But
that's right.
To kind of recap a little bit, so we went through 50 through 41, and I felt like we had a little bit of controversy on there with my pick of Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
The stupid pick.
But I feel like I redeemed myself with a couple different movies, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and also Tombstone, that came on with the 40 through 31. So far, what would you say is like the pick that you've been surprised by so far?
For you or for me? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure.
For me, what pick has stood
Ace Ventura?
Out? Is that seriously?
I can't get over Rhino Butthole. This is how I feel. And also, here's the thing. I don't care that you picked that movie, B-Word. And I actually watched it again the other night. I'm not gonna lie. And I was watching the spear scene where it hits him in the leg, and he's like, ah, and I laughed my ass off. And I sat there and went, yeah, I could see why B-Word really enjoys this. My problem is, B-Word, it's nowhere close to the original. It's nowhere fucking close. And I'm sitting there going, yes, this is funny. And there's funny parts. But it's not like a better movie. And I don't know. You pointed that to me will end all be all stand out. Even when you get to number 1, I think that's going to be the number 1 standout. Tombstone, how low you put it to, I think is a little bit of a standout, especially because we just finished the Western episode.
Right.
And we both talked how Tombstone was the greatest Western of all time, right? Which was great because Aaron, from I Had to Say It, has been messaging me all week about that episode. He fucking loved it. The 6 shooters, all that. But B-Word, you also talk about how we're big Western fans. And for it to be that low on your list, but be one of the greatest movies, I feel like you pulled a Jake here, because I do this shit. I do that type of shit. That's a me move, B-Word. That's a me move saying it's so amazing. It's number 47. It's so amazing. It's number 43. Like, I don't expect you to be that guy. And I guess that's surprising how low you put it, comparatively of how we just talked about how it's one of the greatest Westerns of all time. That's tough.
So the pick that kind of threw me in a loop on yours was Infinity War. Now, I agree with everything that you said about Infinity War. I agree with the fact that everybody dies, how, the experience in the theater, the build up to it, the wait for Endgame, like everything that you said about it. But I just didn't see that it would be that low. And I thought...
Oh, see, that's what's surprising. I don't think we expect a lot of these movies to be that low.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And very similar when I said Captain America Winter Soldier, of course, because I love Captain America Winter Soldier. Now, again, you don't know my list. You're like, well, what the fuck is above that if that is so low? So particularly in the sci-fi and or comic book genre, I think that I know that I'm interested in seeing your list play out to see what exactly made your list. But for my list, I'm also excited to get into that too.
Well, same thing, because it's exciting, B-word, to see where you're going and how much higher it could go up.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, you've already given me some fucking bangers on this 50 through 31, where it's like, okay, I see it. Amazing movie. How is it there? How is it there? And as you just said, what's above that? The other problem is, though, too, B-word, and tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like we know, because we've been best friends forever, I know where some of your list is going, like some of the movies there. I'm not going to, I feel like number 17, for example, I'm not going to be surprised. Like, not saying I know exactly what it is, but like when you say certain ones, I'm like, yeah, that belongs there. Like tonight, when I go through some of this, you're going to be like, yup, you're going to chuckle to yourself. You're going to laugh. You're going to see it. You're going to agree with me. You're going to disagree with me. All the above. The funny thing is, too, and I don't know if you realize this, is we're also going to be saying some of the same movies that, like, for example, I know I'm going to say one tonight that you've already said.
Okay.
And I know it's probably going to be the other way around. And it's going to be interesting to see that argument of how I feel that it's higher or you feel it's lower or whatever.
Well, I have to be honest, man. So we're going to go 30 through 21 here in just a minute. But I have to tell you, 30 through 21 and 20 through 11, I am most excited to reveal. Only because as I get into the top 10 of my films, these are films that I talk about all the time. You know what I mean? Like these are the films
Point Break.
Actually, no, Point Break's not on the list. But
fuck you. See, I don't know anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know anything.
But the fact of the matter is that I talk about films all the time, and I might not talk about them on the podcast. But if I'm going to recommend somebody to watch a film, or if I come across somebody who hasn't watched the film, I'm going to say you really need to watch that. So dude, let's get into the list. So I don't remember how we started out the last episode, so I don't know if I went first or if you went first. But give me your number 30.
Okay, so I'm going to start with this, and I think you're going to find it funny now. I have 2 cartoons tonight.
I thought you mentioned that you didn't have any cartoons the last time we went around.
I lied.
Okay.
I'm a liar. I'm like, also I'm gonna put something out there. I fucking hate. I have like 5 pieces of paper in front of me now because I have like ruined my brain. Okay, I've ruined my brain, B-word, where I don't like even my own list. I don't trust myself anymore.
Did you switch your list up? You pansy ass. All right.
I did.
All right.
Oh, here's the thing. I didn't. Here's the best part, B-word. I have my list, right? Like all these lists in front of me, and I have all these things crossed out. And I triple double checked. I even had my wife do some work for me to make sure I never repeat or say something wrong or like twice or anything.
Right.
So it's vetted, but my brain is breaking down. Okay. And I cannot control myself. I have to Sheldonize and fix everything. So Princess Mononoke.
What in the fuck is that?
One of the greatest anime ever made, in my opinion. I know people will argue Akira. I know they will.
I don't even know what an Akira is.
That's an anime. That's amazing, by the way. But this was one of the first ones I was really introduced to. Beautiful artwork. It's like Avatar before Avatar came out.
Okay.
In the sense of like the storyline, like, like natives versus like industrialization of the world, like, people with rifles and stuff like that coming in. But killer story, great Studio Ghibli does this. They've done Howl's Moving Castle. They've done pretty much every famous anime, not that you would know, but any famous anime that has came out in America, they pretty much are in charge of. And this is my favorite one by them. Killer story, great stuff. Deals with nature, deals with like how you should, like, it's pretty much just an ethical dilemma, an ethical and moral dilemma of how you should live life, how you should treat nature, but also how you should be people towards people. And I highly recommend B-Word. I know you're not an anime fan, and we've talked about this before, but if you could get into one, this is one you should, because also it's a star-studded cast that does the voiceovers for this, because they didn't do it just where it's dubbed. They had like Billy Bob Thornton, all these people come in and actually voice act for this movie because it did so well that it's fucking amazing. I will just say it that way.
Okay. So my number 30 is a movie that stars Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise and Demi Moore, A Few Good Men. A Few Good Men is fabulous. Not only is it a legal drama, it's a military drama. It's got probably the greatest monologue in there for Jack Nicholson.
You can't handle the truth.
Exactly. It's also got 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon in it. Like, it's just a great film. This is, so, spoiler, upcoming, one of my favorite films of all time is Top Gun. This one is probably second in Tom Cruise's films. I love this film. This is just a really good cast, really good storyline, great performance. A Few Good Men is my number 30. What's your number 29?
Hold on. I just want to comment to you. That's a killer fucking pick. All right. So something I want to say, and I know we just got started with the list, but the main thing that surprised me about this is there's so many times, B-Word, that you have mentioned a movie that's not even close to hitting my list, and I'm like, I'm a moron. I'm a moron. I'm an idiot. Why isn't it there? How did I not even remember that movie? Because I'm out here throwing out names like Princess Mononoke, like shit you've never seen. You're like, yeah, okay, Jake, Skinny Tiger, Fatty Dragon, fuck yourself. And then like you're saying actual fucking classics like A Few Good Men. And I'm like, yeah, I apparently don't see the same thing you do. But anyways,
this is the difference between us, though. This is the exact difference between us.
The dichotomy.
Mm-hmm.
Shutter Island.
It's a good movie.
It's not my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio film, but now, mind you, for me, and this is going to sound stupid, but I don't care. It's my number one film to set up my TV with.
Honestly, though, I could see that though, just because of the contrast colors.
Oh, it's so great!
Yeah, it's a beautiful film.
It's a beautifully shot film. It's a beautiful film, but it's one of those films like I didn't give it credit when I first watched it. I was like, whatever, and I moved on. Right, like okay, and then. It's one of those, I can keep watching it. And I feel like I've learned something new every time, if that makes sense. Like, That's why I enjoy it so much. It's such a great story. It's got a few twists. It's got a few turns. Like, you see a lot coming, but you don't care.
Right.
And I really thoroughly enjoy that. But also, I think it's also, too, like, if this was made in the 90s or the 80s, I wouldn't enjoy it as much, I don't think. Because it was one of those, it was perfect when it came out because it's so beautifully shot.
Right.
That it's great in HD resolution. Like it's fucking eye candy, dude. I could watch it all day.
It's done very well. The storyline is top notch in that, and actually, it doesn't make my top 50 for a number of reasons. But it would make my top 100 in a heartbeat. But it's a beautifully shot movie. It's a great spin at the end of the film. Some of the scenes are actually kind of hard to watch, to be honest with you, particularly there at the end. But yeah, great movie, dude. I can't shit on your pick there.
No. 29 for you?
Probably the best road trip movie ever. Now, you came up with a road trip movie that in it's kind of a road trip movie in The Hangover. And I think that The Hangover is a good film. It's a great comedy. This one is a comedy. This one is one of the best films ever. Obviously, it's on my top 50 list. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You got Steve Martin.
Oh.
You've got John Candy. You've got the buddy comedy there. This is the one that I feel like if Superbad was us when we were kids, this is us when we're adults. This is a great film. You would have your hands in my butt cheeks and be those are not pillows, and we would just go about this life. I just think that the relationship between these two is fantastic. Probably Steve Martin's best movie, if I were to say his best movie. Really enjoy this film. It's one of the greatest comedies ever. It's the best, obviously, Thanksgiving film because there's not that many, but this is a great comedy, dude. I love it.
That's what I was going to point out. Like, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday,
and
there's not enough movies around it. Like, we have that and Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore.
Yeah, Both are great films. Both are great films.
Yeah, right. But what are you more likely going to pop in? Son-in-Law or the amazing classic that is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? No, because it is Me and You. That is Me and You to a fucking T. It's not John Candy's best film because that's one of those people like I would love to break him down one day just because so good in every role. But I agree with you. It is Steve Martin's best film. Even though Steve Martin plays like the same character almost in every movie.
In every film.
Break it down.
In every
film.
Yeah.
White hair, angry guy, unless he has a big nose and Roxanne. But, great fucking pick. This one you've already picked on your list.
So you're number 28.
My number 28 is Arrival.
Okay.
And I think Arrival is another movie, like I just said, Shutter Island, that I could watch over and over again and feel like I've missed something, even if I haven't.
Right.
And feel like I've learned something, even if I haven't. I don't know if you know, it's based on a short story. That's like
I didn't know that
paragraph. It's based on a short story that's really it's not to sound redundant, but it's very short, and it's basically about linguistics and like how people go about, like the movie does, but like how people would react to somebody coming to Earth and how you would deal with that. It is a tough watch in the sense that I hate time travel,
right?
And I hate how it's like it's fluid or whatever, whatever they want to say. Their time is gender neutral. Whatever the fuck those aliens are doing, those squids,
right?
But it's just amazing. Like it's another one that's beautifully shot. The score is impeccable. But the storyline's one of those like it's one of those movies on my list that you might not even fucking really understand, but you still enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to it. It's like I feel like even the writers that wrote it go, yeah, that makes sense. And even to them, I don't think they really understand how it makes sense. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. And like you said, every time I watch it, I get something new. It made my top 50. I can't argue with you there. It's a great film, but it is something that that is lower for me. So in the last episode, my number 33 was Captain America: Winter Soldier, and you said, well, what's better than Captain America: Winter Soldier? So this is kind of where I start to peel back the onion on some of these types of films. Number 28 is Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man 2
I love you so much for that.
Is one of the best comic book films ever, especially solo films. One of the best sequels ever, if we want to get back into that conversation. I thought that the storyline was not only perfect for what they were trying to do, but it was actually one of those storylines that you don't even have to be a fan of comic books to be able to follow. And I thought that the relationship between him and Doc Ock and everything involved in that, the MJ storyline, the whole works, was just beautifully done.
Do you feel that it's so great because it breaks down the character to its simplistic form and makes him it's the greatest iteration of Spider-Man we've ever seen?
I agree. There's so much depth to Tobey as Peter Parker in that film that I think that's what makes it, to be candid with you, because it as the first Spider-Man does the reveal of Spider-Man, the origin story. I think it nailed the origin story pretty well.
Right.
The second one does the character development. And it did the character development spot on, from Tobey as Peter Parker to Doc Ock to MJ to, Aunt May. Everybody's got a role in it, and I think it's just done very, very well.
Well, what's funny is so when we first talked about Spider-Man 2 as friends, like in the sense of like ranking movies, I was living in my old house with my wife, and you know me, when I talk on the phone, I pace.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pacing. You remember my backyard? I put those railroad ties in the ground. So I remember talking about this because I was walking on those and jumping over the holes in the railroad ties. And you wanted to argue with me in the sense, not in a bad way, but you were like, you really think Spider-Man 2 is one of the greatest comic book films of all time. And I said that, and you were like, I agree with you, but how can you rank it higher? Because this is one of those things where we were ranking films.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite correct, I'll just be honest, on my ranking, in the sense that I had it so fucking high that you're like, Jake, that's a good pick. It's a great film, but how do you rank it above this? And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. But I remember that conversation because it was one of those things like, it's the epitome of what you want a comic book movie to be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's the greatest of all time, but it's so well done that you're like, I can't really find a flaw, but there are still better films out there.
There are.
I love that it's there on your list. That's a killer pick. You were totally right, especially because you did throw me for a loop when you said Winter Soldier. I was like, there's no way there's another comic book movie above that. Now it makes sense. So I agree with that. The funny thing is, my next film is in that same vein, sort of, and it's Joker
Okay.
with Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
I adore this film. Excuse me. I love this movie. I think I like the dark grittiness of it. I love the acting. I think it was well done. I don't necessarily love all the tie-ins to other movies,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I went and watched what's that movie with Robert De Niro? Is it Taxi?
Oh, Taxi
Cab Driver. Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
After I watched it, because I never saw that, and I thought that movie sucked, and people can hate me there. I don't fucking care. That movie sucks. That movie's boring. It's weird. It makes no fucking sense. It's like, wow, he drove a taxi and he, whatever. Fuck you. The movie sucks. And I went back and watched that because people compared it to that, and I was like, okay, but the Joker's amazing. I love that film. I can't say much more about it.
We had a debate or a conversation with Bleach Bro Mitch when he guested on the podcast for one of our episodes, and I want to say it was actually behind the scenes where we were trying to tell him you need to watch Joker because he just absolutely refused. Joker didn't make my top 50. Joker's up there as far as one of my favorite comic book films, though. So I, again, can't shit on you for that. So this one's also fantasy. My next one, my number 27, this one is also fantasy. This one, it has great memories between me and you. This one has a lot of action, better character development than the original, better storyline, I believe, than the original. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is my number 27. If I were to rank Arnold's films, this would be his number one film. I love a lot of Arnold films. This is his top film, in my opinion. This film was done so very well. The fact that they were able to tie in a whole lot of pop culture, a whole lot of society within that day, with the arcade and everything else that just kind of filled this film. And then the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger was not a villain like he was in the first film, and then how they took it there, man, such a damn good movie, dude. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, one of my absolute favorites, my number 27.
Is Arnold naked in that movie?
That's the first one.
Oh, okay. So
he is the second one. He's naked in both of them. Yeah.
That's why you love it. I just wanted to put that out there. That's why you love it, because he's naked. You get to see Arnold.
I do.
His little Arnie.
Yeah, his little Arnie.
His little Arnie hammer.
Yep.
His T2.
Yep.
I finally watched that for the first time probably 8 years ago now. Good movie.
Oh, that's right, because I didn't show you this one. I showed you Terminator that had the sex scene.
And you didn't even show me that. You just showed me boobies. You just showed me boobies and subies and a robot, and then turned it off. And so I had no reason to watch any of them. And no, I'm glad I did. Great pick. Great movie. I don't think it's Arnold's best movie, but that's for you to say. My next one has a lot of meaning to me. It'll have meaning to you too. The Land Before Time.
Yeah.
I will say this. I will say this now on the show. I have promised that I will tell the actual story behind why there's a laugh between our inside joke of what The Land Before Time is. But Don Bluth's greatest film. It makes you want to cry. It makes you happy. It's a journey. It's an adventure. It's well written. It's one of the best cartoons of all time. In the sense, and it's hard to argue what the best Don Bluth film is. I wish you were more into cartoons, because I would love to have an episode like that. But there's just so much meaning behind The Land Before Time. I mean, that was there were certain movies that our generation grew up with. Yeah. And it was like The Goonies, The Sandlot, The Land Before Time, that's in there for me with a lot of people and a lot of things. And it just, I love all the characters. I still have all the original puppets from the Pizza Hut. I have 3 collections of them. One I will sell, so anybody wants to buy. But it's the point. It's a fucking stellar film for a child, because it has so much depth.
Yeah.
For a cartoon, which is rare.
Motherfucking tree stars, bro.
Tree stars, bro.
Yeah. So the laugh between Jake and I will be revealed at another time, because that's not really for this episode. But be on the lookout for that, because you will also laugh and enjoy the story. My number 26, dude. I love the actor who was the lead in here. I know you love the actor who was the lead in here. He has a lot of great roles. This, to me, might be his greatest film. If I were to rank his films, I don't know that this would be his top film. It very well could be. but on this list, it is his top film, if that makes sense. Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams.
Okay.
Such a great film, great comedy. The storyline is impeccable. The relationship between him and Sally Field, him being, for the lack of a better word, a transgender to be around his kids, to be able to be associated with his kids.
A tranny
granny. Yes.
Yeah.
The soundtrack, phenomenal. The storyline, phenomenal. The relationship with his kids, phenomenal. Like when he's peeing and the little girl's like, oh my God, she's a he, he's a he, he's a she, he. Like that's a great fucking reaction to this. Mrs. Doubtfire, probably Robin Williams' best film.
It's up there.
Maybe.
I mean, we've done that, but it's up there, yeah.
But for sure, it's the top Robin Williams movie on my list.
I never thought of that. That's a movie I don't think of the soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
like, I just don't.
You've got "Jump Around" by is it Public Enemy that sings "Jump Around." You've got
House of Pain.
House of Pain. You've got "Dude Looks Like a Lady" by Aerosmith. You've got some really good songs that are on there that play into the scenes.
I'm gonna go on a side note on this though. I will argue with you on this. I like soundtracks with original music,
sure.
Rather like Ninja Turtles, where it's like original songs rather than just a bunch of songs you picked up that were hits and throw them on there and go, oh, that's great. Like that's an argument I'd love to have one day. Before we get into 25 through 21, let's take a break and we'll come right back.
What's up, everyone? It's Mitch from the Two Guys in a Dark podcast, and I am joined by Bobby, the only guy I know who thinks about chili dogs while he's hanging out at your mom's house.
You damn right. And speaking of things I like to do on Sundays, nothing beats a brand new episode of Two Guys in the Dark.
Oh, tell me more, Daddy.
We sit down, discuss life, pop culture, entertainment, and much, much more.
So join us weekly as we take to the open road with a turkey burger and some cabbage rolls, right here on the Two Guys in a Dark podcast.
Welcome back into the Bleach Brothers. Welcome
Black.
Welcome Black.
Welcome Black.
Anyways, no, I want to punch myself in the face because I was saying like how, the soundtrack thing, like I like original, and then it's like I love fucking what is it? Guardians of the Galaxy's soundtrack. So punch me in the face or punch me in the dick, whatever you want to punch.
Same thing with like Forrest Gump. I love Forrest Gump's soundtrack.
I want you, because I started this tonight, and I actually want you to jump into 25 because we went already through 30 through 26 each. Very, very good movies, very good points. What's your 25?
See, here's the hard part. So my 25 it's hard to identify who the main character is in this film. It's debatable on if it's Tom Hanks. It's debatable on if it's Matt Damon. But the cast is phenomenal. It is Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan is a phenomenal film. It's done extremely well. The great storyline with Matt Damon's brother dying, and they have to go through the war to find Matt Damon to save, quote unquote, Private Ryan, to get him home. The relationship between all the characters, the events that they deal with. Saving Private Ryan is my number 25 movie. It is not my top Matt Damon film, and it is not my top Tom Hanks film. So
it better not be your top Hanks.
It is not my top Tom Hanks film. So, but number 25 is Saving Private Ryan.
I like that. Mine is one not a lot of people have seen. This is where I'm starting to get weird on my list. I'm going to be honest. There was a point on my list, and you know how my brain works, B-word, where I start doing things like in a certain order. Where it's like, okay, these are all the movies nobody's heard of, and right. So I will admit, the next few that we go through, a lot of people might be like, "What the fuck?" But SLC Punk.
Oh, I like that movie.
That was me in high school. The Matthew Lillard just connection or whatever. But I don't know if you know, it was based on a comic book.
Yep.
And great film, great indie film. I love that whole like punk thing. I was a big fan of that. That's the music I was into. That's how I dressed in high school. That's how I acted. I was an ass. But just a killer movie that's emotional that you wouldn't expect to be.
Yeah. And knowing you, dude,
well written.
Knowing you and knowing your passion for this movie, I think that this is a good spot for it.
Yeah.
I think that this is probably perfect placement. If I were to say, where would Jake put this at? Number 25, 26, 24 area, I think is probably perfect, just knowing you.
The reason was, too, how my brain is, I had to put it right exactly in the middle because it didn't feel like a cop-out where it was so low that I hate myself, but it wasn't so high that it would be like, there's no way that's number 7 or whatever.
Right.
So I actually threw it on 25 for a reason, because it's the exact middle, and I felt like it was the perfect placement for a movie that I love that reminds me of myself and everything around it. But good film. Good film. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. You might not love everything about it, but it just the way it's narrated and dialogue, and it breaks the fourth wall. Not that I'm a fan of that, but I think this movie does it well.
So number 24 is my top horror film. Do you have a horror film any higher on your list?
As you said that, I don't even know if I have a horror film on my list. And since I'm not a horror fan, as you know, it's not my favorite thing. I find them, it's funny because I love creature features, but horror to me is like campy and just but
technically
that's okay.
Technically in my top 10 you could probably say that I have another horror. However, I don't consider that one a horror. This one for sure is a horror film. My number 24 came out in 1980. Again, stars Jack Nicholson. Also stars Shelley Duvall. The Shining. You want to talk about a great fucking film? The Shining is amazing. Everything about The Shining is amazing. The storyline, the lead up, the conspiracy theories about where the main character goes, how he got there. Is he from the past? Is he trapped in the house? Like, all the questions that it's left with, it's not like a blood and gore horror per se. I mean, while there is blood in there, it's not the stab you and, make all your guts go out. It is the horror that makes you think, and it is the horror that fucking thrills you. And with that, The Shining makes it on my list, number 24.
That's a great pick, especially for you, in the sense that it's a horror, but not a total horror. Like we've talked about, I don't like horror porn, I call it, where it's like just a gore fest where you're just killing people to kill people, like Saw. You're just having a contest with yourself of how you can one up it. I'm actually watching a documentary, I haven't finished it yet, that's about this.
Okay.
About Stanley Kubrick and The Shining. It's called What's the Room? Is it 213 or 231? Whatever.
I think it is. You're catching me off guard here. I don't remember what the room number is. 313, 213, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. But the documentary is named after that room. And it essentially breaks down how Stanley Kubrick did nothing by accident. And it reminds me of people that did Easter eggs before Easter eggs were a thing. Because that's who he was. Yeah. Like, he didn't put something in a film for no reason. Like, he would think about every little detail, like the typewriter he uses or what and that. And like, so great pick, because that movie is another one. And we've talked about this a lot so far, is that those movies that you were always looking for something, searching, finding something, learning something new. The funny thing is, it's one of those movies too, you can watch now and feel like there's a connected Stephen King universe, even though there's not. You're right. But you could see that there's things connected, if that makes sense.
And fun fact, Stephen King hates the film. And I love it. I love everything about it. Like, it's done extremely well. Now, in all fairness, I never read the book, so I don't know what the differences are with all of that. However, I saw the movie first, and that's why I haven't read the book. It's amazing.
I'm interested why he hates that movie. Like, to be honest, like, I watched it. I watched it way too late in my life, where everybody made it like seem like it was like the greatest horror of all time. I was like, yeah, it was good. But it's one of those, I find myself going back to it more than other films, so I see the relevancy.
Right.
And it's funny, the guy I'm watching the documentary with, it's like, I hated the movie, but I kept going to the theater to find things. And then I found myself like loving this movie later. It's like when you hear a song, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's not good.
Right.
And then it keeps happening. You're like, oh, now it's growing on me.
Right.
That's what The Shining is for me. My next one is a Matt Damon film with Edward Norton, two of my favorite actors. And it's Rounders.
Great film.
I love Rounders. That was my college movie, like one of them, where it was like, it was cool to play poker. It was cool to be those guys. I mean, the only thing I hate about the movie, I'm going to shit on it right now, is like all the quotable things. Like, it felt like they wrote it watching people play poker. And it's like, when like you make that friend that gets into like something and they learn the terminology and that's all they talk about now, or that's how they talk. That's how I felt that movie. That's the only point I'll make on the movie that's annoying. It's like, high stacks of society. Like, give me this, give me that. It's like, shut the fuck up. Just play poker and have a good time.
Right.
It's one of those, though, I don't think it could ever be remade. I know they would try, but I don't think you could because all the great acting in it. John Malkovich,
Yeah.
the guy who plays Mr. Sneaky Sneaky and Mr. Deeds, like all those people do such a phenomenal job playing the character that they were. It was like it was written just for them. They did such a great job. I can't walk away from that film. I fucking love it.
Rounders is a great film. It is a phenomenal film. Not on my top 50, but I can definitely see where this plays into you. Again, this is where we go through those subtle nuances between you and I, where we're like, okay, yes, I like the film, but I obviously, here's why Jake likes it better. Or here's why B-Word likes the film. We know that's one of his favorites, but this is why Jake doesn't like it. This is kind of where we're getting into that splitting hairs territory of good film to great film for the both of us. And I feel like we're going to see a lot more differences as we start going back and forth. But for you, again, great pick, great film. It's not a bad film at all. And that was your number 24, correct?
Yes.
All right. So number 23 for me, you might actually shit on this for the placement of it, but I don't care. So I'm going to be flat honest with you. I almost shit on myself for the placement of it because I'm like, how is this better than Spider-Man 2? Right. This was
or Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah.
You notice you have a lot of 2s on your list
do.
too. You're as much as you said, I'm not a sequel guy. All you fucking listed is sequels.
I have more sequels actually on the list as well. This one is not a sequel. When I put this one on the list, when I was thinking about where to place this one, my biggest issue was I knew it was on my top 50. This was one of the ones that I was like, okay, top 50 of all time, it's got to be on the list. Where do I put it? And then I started comparing movies, and this one was where I started comparing it to Spider-Man 2, and I'm like, do I really think this one's better than Spider-Man 2? Sure as shit it is. Jurassic Park, 1993. Jurassic Park is a great fucking film, and the reason why it's better than Spider-Man 2 is because of how it made me feel in 1993 when I was in the fucking movie theater and I was watching goddamn dinosaurs. You like to fucking be comforted by cartoon dinosaurs? I love live-action animatronic dinosaurs. This is an amazing film. I absolutely love it. And if people haven't watched it, don't watch any of the new ones. I don't really care about the new ones. 1993,
fuck all that shit.
Jurassic Park, the introduction of cloning dinosaurs and the storyline that goes into it. And I don't consider this a horror, but the horror behind it with people being attacked or accosted by dinosaurs. Great fucking film, dude.
Why did you think I would? All right, can I just tell you the thing I hate on you right now for this is that you gave me a creature feature with giant dinosaurs, people killing, people dying, whatever, and you want me to hate on you for putting it number 23?
I don't.
What's wrong with you? That's an amazing placement. That is an amazing movie. That is a great job, B-Word. I applaud you. I applaud you for this. Like, I remember I was so hyped for this movie that I had like the Trapper Keeper with all the folders in it. I had all the toys. I watched like the 2020 documentary of how, like, I don't know if you know this, like the noises for the egg when the dino was hatching. They had the kids like crunch up like ice cream cones that they were eating on the set for that noise.
Oh, really?
Like the Tyrannosaurus Rex's roar is like 7 animals in one. It's an elephant, a lion. I can't remember the rest of them. But it's all those little things. I'm such a nerd for this movie. Fuck yes, B-Word. And I'm so pissed because guess what? It's not on my list. It's not on my list. I suck. I should go home. I am home. But how do I leave that off? That's why I'm more mad at you, is that you put a movie like that on here and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why didn't I have this here?
Right.
Great fucking job, B-Word.
I love this movie. What's your number 23, bro?
Quentin Tarantino's first written film.
Reservoir Dogs?
No. True Romance.
Oh, yes.
He wrote it.
Yes.
He wrote it when he worked at a movie store. Didn't do anything. This is that movie. And here's the thing. This was, all right, remember how we've talked about those movies that you threw on for Netflix and chill or whatever? I used to pick this movie out for people and they'd be like, I'm not watching that. Or like girls be like, oh yeah, I'll watch that. Thinking it's going to be cocaine, hookers, comic books,
feet,
shoot people. Fucking so much amazingness. The scene with Gandolfini and the fucking hooker with the corkscrew stabbing each other, one of the greatest fucking scenes ever. But the scene with Dennis Hopper and his name's going away from me right now, Christopher Walken, is one of my favorite written scenes of all time. Of your Sicilian and just listening to them talk and getting a cigarette and killing him and beating the shit out of him. fucking phenomenal film. Phenomenal film.
I love Tarantino so much, and I love almost all of his movies. And when I say almost, like there's some that like yes I've watched, but I probably won't watch again, or whatever. They're a good film, it's just not one of my favorites. True Romance did not make my list. True Romance is a fantastic, fantastic film. I would love to go through Tarantino's films one day with you too. Just
Stab me in the heart.
Just so we could do it, because I think that would just be
fuck.
a blast. I think that would just be a blast. I do have a Tarantino film on my list, but it's going to be on a different episode, so we'll go through that at a later time. So that was your number 23.
Yes, sir.
My number 22 is, if you will, a movie that you and I talk about a lot when referencing comic book films. Is it a comic book film? No, not originally. You can call it a comic book film now due to other canon material that's been produced. Star Wars Episode 5, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back is one of, if not the best villain movie ever. I think that Darth Vader and his ability to have that moment that you were talking about in the last episode of Infinity War, like where people walk out of the theater and they're like, I can't believe the bad guy won. And then come back, and the character arc with it, the relationship between him and Luke Skywalker is revealed. The relationship between Luke Skywalker and Leia is revealed. You're dealing with all of these different storylines. Are the Jedi going to come back and win? I just wish that I lived in the 70s to be able to see this. I did kind of through Infinity War, but not for Star Wars. So Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, is my number 22. It is better than Jurassic Park. It is better than Spider-Man 2. It is better than Captain America Winter Soldier. But in those vein of films, this one's one of my favorites.
It's the best Star Wars film, too. I will say that. I'll argue that till the day I die. It's funny because I agree with you. It has all the points you just made, and it actually ties into my 22 in the sense of I've already mentioned one of his films on my list that I fucking love, USQ, Kevin Smith. And they talk about, the film I already listed was Clerks, where they talk about how Empire is better and why. The next film is actually my favorite Kevin Smith film of all time, and it's Mallrats. The most quotable teenage comedy for me. I remember that was that movie that I would splice. And you remember riding my car. I would splice clips of that movie before like Newfound Glory songs. Like, my cousin Walter got a cat stuck in his ass, and like just shit like that. I fucking love that film.
It's a great film.
It was just fun, raunchy, good time. I mean, I love Mallrats. It was the epitome of a teenager to me. It's like the guy's version of Clueless, if it were. Like, just let's go to the mall. Let's try to pick up chicks. Let's try to get stoned. Let's try to skateboard. Let's see all the shit that's happening in the world and whatever, and then complain about all the adults. I love Mallrats. Great soundtrack. One of those soundtracks I'm going to punch myself in the face again. Nothing original, but all fucking good. But in that punk same vein. But I think it's Kevin Smith's best movie, in my opinion, because I think it was finally the point where he tied all his characters together perfectly, if that makes sense.
I'm disappointed because, like with Clerks, I don't have Mallrats on my list. I don't have a Kevin Smith movie on my list. I said when you said Clerks, that's a really, really good fucking pick. I'm kicking myself in the ass for not having a Kevin Smith movie on my list because he's a great creator. I love those films. I really, really do. You and I have spent a lot of times burning through those videotapes and just listening to the audio and watching the video of it, and it's just been really, really good. So to end this episode, before we get there, I want you to see if you can guess the genre of my number 21.
Drama. I think you're going to go with a drama film. I think you tried to round out, and the reason why, B-Word, I think when you were writing this list, you went through this phase where you would do comedy, Let me throw you a spoiler, like a crazy thing, a comic book movie, and I think you have to round yourself in every 3 to 5 picks with something serious to make yourself seem credible in the sense of like, I really need to have a serious film on here. I can't just do things that I fucking love, like Jurassic Park and Empire Strikes Back and Spider-Man 2. Like, I have to have a Saving Private Ryan. So in my opinion, this is going to be a well-known, amazing drama film that everybody will tout and say is awesome. And I mean, I don't know. That's how I feel. Now, let me ask you this before you say yours. What genre do you think mine is?
I think your genre is going to be a fantasy film, potentially sci-fi.
I'm just going to tell you this. You are correct. And fuck you. I don't know how you know that.
And you are correct, by the way. Yes.
I knew
yes.
it. See, yeah.
So,
I'm awesome.
So, again, not knowing each other's lists, this is the fun part about it because you and I get the real reaction as we go through. My number 21, dude, a 2000 film. It is a historical drama. It is also an epic. Directed by Ridley Scott. Starring Russell Crowe. It is Gladiator. Gladiator is a great fucking film. You're giving me the look. You're giving me the look.
Well, because I forgot Ridley Scott directed it. That was why. I was more confused for myself.
Gotcha. They are coming out with a sequel here soon. Don't really know how I feel
Which is
about
gonna
the
suck.
sequel.
It's gonna suck.
Typically, I'm not a big fan of sequels. Although as we get further in the list, you will
no,
understand.
hold on. You're not a fan of sequels
that I love. Just generically, sequels tend to get a worse reaction from me. But Gladiator, first off, everything in the film that I want. Joaquin Phoenix is the villain. Joaquin Phoenix is a great villain. The fact when you go with the thumb right to the side and you either go up or you go down and it's going to decide somebody's fate. You have all of the history about the ancient Romans. You have the Colosseum. By the way, the Colosseum is one of the greatest historical buildings that I've ever fell in love with all through school. Was able to see it in 2017 in Rome. Absolutely loved it. I was able to walk through the Colosseum, see how these people were actually housed and see how they actually fought. It was one of the best tours that I've ever taken. The reason why I love the Colosseum is largely in part because of Gladiator. Gladiator is a great film, and it has one of the best endings, I want to say, in your opinion, because at the end of it, Russell Crowe dies. There's no happy ending to it.
Yeah.
It's a real ending. And so Gladiator is going to finish my list for this episode. So with that being said, you have a fantasy, potentially sci-fi as your number 21. Lay it on me.
Willow.
Oh,
I
Jesus
love
Christ.
Willow. Shut up. Mad Mardigan. Amazing film. I quote that movie all the time. I stole the baby from a stupid daikini. I love that. All right. Remember the brownies? That's me and my brother. We quote that all the time. We run around. I was quoting that when I was on my trip with my wife, just hiking through the woods near rivers. I was quoting fucking Willow the whole fucking time. Like, follow the river. Like, I love that movie. I can watch that movie over. There's midgets. There's magical midgets. There's sword fighting midgets. There's fucking pig dogs that try to eat people. There's a baby that's a ginger that saves the world for some reason. There's Val Kilmer as a fucking weirdo, long-haired, sword-wielding fucking badass and a hot chick that he wants to do. And then the scene, not a woman. Oh! I love everything about Willow. And the fact that Disney went and tried to make a fucking series and ruined it. They can suck my fucking dick, as I would say, because Willow is one of my favorite films of all time. That's why it's on my top 20, number 21. But in the top 50 list, Willow's a fucking killer film. Beaver.
Willow's a great film.
The fact that you are trying to shit on it, you suck. You suck.
I'm not trying to shit on it. I see why that's a lot higher on your list. It does not make my top 50. I don't care how you cut it. It's a great film. I love Willow. Willow when we were kids, honestly, the first time I saw Willow, it scared me just because of the midget's lips. Like, I didn't understand, first off, how his stature became what it was, but then how his lips protruded in the manner that they did. So, I watched it in kind of fear at the time that it came out. But Willow's a great film, dude. I love it. It's a good pick. It's definitely you. It's not me. So I'm excited for that. But October's episode, man. Top 50. We're coming down. We've only got 2 episodes left. This was 30 through 21. Just as a recap, man, I'm gonna say mine. Go ahead and say yours. I've got A Few Good Men at number 30, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles at 29, Spider-Man 2 at 28, Terminator 2 Judgment Day 27, Mrs. Doubtfire 26, Saving Private Ryan 25, The Shining 24, Jurassic Park 23, The Empire Strikes Back 22, and Gladiator 21.
And my list, the Jake list, because it's all over the damn place. 30 was Princess Mononoke, 29 Shutter Island, 28 The Arrival, sorry. 27 Joker, 26 The Land Before Time, 25 SLC Punk, 24 Rounders, 23 True Romance, 22 Mallrats, and 21 Willow. Killer list. I'm excited to see where it goes from here because I think it's just going to get weirder, stranger, and more in line with ourselves.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where this is where you start defining who you are as a moviegoer
Yep.
and a movie watcher. Not that the list already hasn't sort of done that. We've given a glimpse of how we feel about films, what we feel about films, but great list so far, man.
Yeah, absolutely good list. And with that, for our next top 50, see you next month.
Thanks for all the dirty talk. Come back and get sanitized. This is Jake from the Bleach Bros podcast, and thank you for listening to today's episode. I want to bring to your attention our Linktree. Visit Linktree/Bleach Bros podcast for access to all of our socials, merch, and streaming sites. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros podcast, all one word. And if you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like, give us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, and also invite your friends.